In June of 2001, the 23rd expansion in Magic the Gathering history and the third and final chapter of the Invasion block was released. Featuring Yawgmoth's mask as its set symbol, the Apocalypse set picks up where Planeshift left off and includes not just notable cards, but events extremely important to the overall Magic story.
Now pay attention, please.
For a full account of the events that unfold in the set, we recommend you pick up a copy of the Apocalypse novel by J. Robert King. Otherwise, here is a summary of the set story. Urza and Gerard are kneeling before the dark Phyrexian lord Yawgmoth on the ninth sphere of Phyrexia. The land around them changes into that of an arena, and Yawgmoth commands the two fallen saviors of Dominaria to duel for their greatest desires, the opportunity to study under the Lord of the Waste himself should Urza win, and, should Gerard prove the victor, Hannah's resurrection. Elsewhere in Phyrexia, the remaining Titans, Bolivar, Commodore Guff, Freyalise, and Lord Windgrace discover Urza's treachery, the death of Taysir, and the destruction of the Master Soul Bomb. The foursome decide that it's up to them to set off the remaining soul bombs manually. On Dominaria, Karn is having a mind-blowing experience. It seems that in breaking his oath of pacifism as he had done during the events of Invasion, it also broke a sort of memory block and was now able to access thousands of years worth of memories and knowledge, including a full knowledge of the legacy and its purpose. In a flash of light, the Golem merges the Thran Tome with the wrecked Weatherlight, which repairs and rebuilds itself to be stronger, faster, and this time around, sentient. With the Weatherlight now sentient, Multani can no longer live in its wooden hull as he had been. He travels back to his home in Yavimaya, discovering on his travel homeward that Benalia, Llanowar, and the Merfolk kingdoms, Voldalia included, have all fallen to the Phyrexians. To his relief, Yavimaya is safe, though the Morrow Sorcerer knows it's only a matter of time until his forest also falls under the attack. Deciding to take the offensive, he transplants a large chunk of Yavimaya directly into Urborg. Krovax leaves the stronghold to confront Multani's forces, but is overwhelmed and flees to regroup. Aided by the new Yavimaya forces, Eladamri, Lincivi, and Grizzlegum attempt to locate a backdoor entrance into the Wrathy stronghold. While they don't find one, they do happen upon a party of dwarves who are planning to blast a tunnel towards the stronghold with plans to activate the dormant volcano underneath. Back in Phyrexia, the seemingly endless duel between Urza and Gerard drew to a quick close as Gerard decapitates the Planeswalker. Yawgmoth rewards the victor by increasing his strength, endurance, knowledge, and will tenfold, but Gerard's only want is to have Hannah back. Yawgmoth sends her into the arena to gather Urza's head for him, but Gerard, rather than embracing his dearly departed friend, trusts his instincts and strikes her instead. Those instincts proved correct, as this Hannah proved only to be a simulacrum created by Yawgmoth's essence. Before he can land the killing blow, however, Yawgmoth had Gerard jettisoned from the plane, returning him to the stronghold on Urborg. Once there, he is reunited with his goblin crewmate Squee, and the two of them make short work of the Phyrexian troops inside. Ertai, realizing that he cannot defeat Gerard alone, summons Krovax to return to the stronghold. As Gerard and the now immortal Squee fight Ertai and Krovax, the dwarves manage to blast their way into the volcano. Coalition forces breach the stronghold, as does the Weatherlight, having located Squee on its sensors. Gerard manages to kill Krovax, and Ertai escapes to his rejuvenation chamber to prepare for round 3. Squee, being the goblin that he is, messes with the chamber's controls, and it malfunctions, fatally frying Ertai in the process. The battle ends, and the Coalition forces, Weatherlight included, flee just before the whole place is engulfed in lava. Back in Phyrexia, the 4 planeswalkers that remain from Urza's original 9 Titans succeed in setting off the final of the Soul Bombs, gutting Phyrexia. Guff, however, reveals that Yawgmoth has already departed from the Doom Plane, with plans to make Dominaria his new home, and 9,000 years after his departure, he indeed does, in the form of a death cloud, killing everything living and resurrecting everything dead. How does he know this? Well, as it turns out, the eccentric Guff is the keeper and editor of sorts of all knowledge of the multiverse, past, present, and future, and already knows how things will turn out. After all, he's the one who approved the Lord of the Waste's victory and wrote it down in one of his books. The Planeswalkers depart Phyrexia just in time to avoid being caught in its destruction. Back in Dominaria, the Weatherlight drops everyone off on Urborg, save for the main crew just in time to see Yawgmoth's arrival in his new gaseous form. Unfortunately, they have no idea how to fight it. All this time, however, Gerard has kept Urza's head with him, and the darn thing speaks. Apparently, Urza has been alive in head form all this time. Whatever you want to call it, wants to open the Weatherlight's power matrix to recreate Sarah's realm on Dominaria. Sure, this will probably decimate an entire hemisphere, but at least the other half will be safe. Karn, thankfully, has a better idea. The Golem tells of the Null Moon, which has been gathering white mana ever since it was brought into orbit by the Thran some 9,000 years prior. The Weatherlight plane shifts directly to the moon, and gathers the white mana within with plans to channel it directly into Yawgmoth, thus finally killing the Dark Lord. Thankfully for all life on Dominaria, Bolivar manages to convince Guff to make one final edit to this future that is yet to come by leaving it open-ended. A dismal future now potentially avoided, the Planeswalkers go their separate ways to defend the plane. Lavar sacrifices himself to save a colony of merfolk from Yawgmoth's death cloud. Freyleigh spends her supposed last moments in the Skyshroud Forest, and Lord Windgrace takes Grizzlegom and his forces home to make one last stand in Urborg. As Yawgmoth is decimating the rest of the Coalition army, Eladamri and Lyn Civi commit suicide by jumping to their death off of an enormous treefolk as one final act of defiance against the Dark Lord. Finally, the Weatherlight launches the Legacy weapon, losing its sentience in the process. Yawgmoth attempts to flee through the Stronghold's portal, but finds the portal, and indeed the Stronghold itself, overrun with lava. Unable to run, Yawgmoth turns to face the blast of concentrated white mana emanating from the Legacy weapon. He not only survives the attack, he morphs into an enormous tentacle beast that grabs hold of the Weatherlight. Just as it seems like the Weatherlight crew, and indeed Dominaria as a whole, was done for, Urza's head has Gerard remove his Power Stone eyes and place them into Karn's silver chest. The result is a radiant light that seems ever expanding as it absorbs all parts of the Legacy into it. The crew, save for Karn and Gerard as they too are parts of the Legacy, manage to disembark from the ship just in time. Nobody really knows what exactly happened or how it happened, but once the light dissipated, the Dark Lord Yawgmoth was nowhere to be found. The Lord of the Wastes now finally defeated, all of the Phyrexian forces on the plane became instantly brain-dead. Yawgmoth's control over them now gone. The Coalition has little trouble in defeating the remaining Phyrexians, disassembling them with the greatest of ease. 1 year after the final battle, a ceremony is held in Urborg, with survivors from all over the plane in attendance. A monument is constructed on the former grounds of Krovix's family estate, and, after the ceremony, Squee and Tangarth rejoin Sissy as members of her new crew. Aurum is invited to join them, but she declines. Karn, now a planeswalker after merging with Urza, appears and wishes the crew well before taking Aurum to Mercadia so she can marry Cho Mano, the leader of the Cho Aurum. Finally, Sissy, Squee, and Tangarth set out on new journeys on their new ship, one which they've dubbed Victory.
Sweet victory, yeah.
And Apocalypse? Well, heck, the entire invasion block was a victory of sorts for Wizards of the Coast when you consider how poorly received the previously released Masks block wound up being.
Spare me.
The set sees the continuation of Kicker and Split cards, but what's really kinda neat with Apocalypse is that each color gets a handful of cards, mostly creatures, that have their own color-specific unique abilities. Red's Bloodfire creatures have abilities that mirror sweep damage spells such as Tremor, Pyroclasm, and Inferno. Green's Penumbra creatures all create black creature tokens of the respective power and toughness when they die. Black Siphon cards all let their controllers draw cards at the expense of 1 life per card. Blue's Whirlpool creatures have the, quote, when this creature comes into play, shuffle the cards from your hand into your library and draw that many cards. And White has the Flag Bearers, which are a creature type that force one's opponent's spells and abilities to target a Flag Bearer if at all possible. But those are monocolor strategies, and Apocalypse is a multicolored set. Don't fret, there's plenty of multicolor to go around.
I'm a little relieved.
Whereas the previous set, Planeshift, is all about allied colors, Apocalypse has a focus on enemy-colored pairs.
Back in the day, we had this attitude that allied colors got along better than enemy colors because they were allies. So we used to make a lot more gold cards of allies than we made with enemy. That we made it a lot harder to play enemy. That we gave you less access to mana, we had less gold cards that existed in those colors, we just made it harder to play the enemy colors. We've since reversed that strategy. In Magic at the time, we were literally maybe doubling or maybe more than doubling, the number of existing gold cards for enemy color combinations.
As such, the set is full of enemy-colored cards, such as Putrid Warrior, Quicksilver Dagger, Ebony Treefolk, and enemy-colored split cards like Fire and Ice and Illusion Reality. Even Apocalypse's kicker cards feature an enemy color, as is the case with Orum's Thunder. The set also has a cycle of enemy-colored dual lands. Apocalypse lands are Pain lands, finally completing the cycle that was introduced with the ally-colored ones in Ice Age.
It's about damn time.
Apocalypse also features a number of wedge cards, even if they don't seem like it at first, such as with the Disciple, Sanctuary, and Volver cycles. There is also a cycle of 3-color rare spells in the set, such as Lightning Angel and Overgrown Estate. Notable cards in the set include Vindicate, Mystic Snake, Spiritmonger, and the powerful board sweeper Pernicious Deed, which was an inclusion in many top 8 Pro Tour decks for years after its release. And just like with Invasion and Planeshift, Apocalypse featured a pre-release promo card written in a language previously unseen on a Magic card. This time around, it was the card Fungal Shambler, and the entire card is written in Sanskrit.
No, it's okay. I watch Indian movies.
So is Apocalypse one of your favorite Magic the Gathering sets? If so, let us know in the comments section below. And be sure to subscribe to Magic Untapped on YouTube, and please support our efforts by becoming a Patreon supporter for more great Magic the Gathering content.